Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Accounting Insiders Podcast. My name is Gary DeHart, and I am the publisher of Insightful Accountant and the host of the Accounting Insiders Podcast. It is May the 28th, 2025, and we are full into summer now. Memorial Day has passed, and now it is all about starting to warm up around the country. And my guest today is Diane Gilson. Diane is I don't want to say former because we have our Pro Advisors of the Year are always Pro Advisors of the Year. So she was out, was it 2021?
2022, I think.
2022. Okay. I should know that, but I don't. So actually it's over your shoulder, I think, right? So it's on the left behind
Yep,
you there.
up there
Yep.
on the shelf. Yep.
So and then a kind of a recurring top 100 pro advisor. And but somewhat recently, or I guess and historically you've kind of been focused in construction in your
Mhm.
practice. But then a little bit recently you decided, you know what, desktop's out or trending out,
Mhm.
and that's maybe a time for you to pivot. And so you pivoted over to AI, and a topic that we can't get away from, and probably don't need to get away from it. We need to embrace it, and that's what you have done. So thank you so much for taking some time. This is part two of a six-part series that we are recording. And so Diane, again, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here, Gary.
Yeah. And so
Always fun to talk about AI.
yes,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to hearing what you've learned in just since we last time we talked. So, I hinted to this as a part two of a six-part series. So we recorded part one roughly, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, maybe it was a month ago. And just for those listening, if you haven't listened to that, and you're especially if AI is new to you, or you're thinking, do I really need it? Do I want to get involved with it? I'd encourage you to go back and listen to that episode. You can find it on our YouTube channel, and it was basically getting started. I'm reading it off my screen, so pardon me. It was, the topic was getting started, what AI can actually do for you. So we took a bit of a deep dive into just the general topic of AI. We hear about it, we read about it, talking heads are telling you about it, can't get away from it. But what is it really? And how do we really start to leverage it in an accounting firm, a bookkeeping firm, or really even in your day-to-day life, right? And so we
Right.
took had about 8 core questions that we worked on in that session. And today, Diane is going to talk to us about the art of the prompt with ChatGPT, and you primarily focus ChatGPT, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
It's
and
it's
and
like,
so
it's kind of like having Excel, even though there are other spreadsheets out there,
yeah,
sometimes it's just better to focus on one and
yeah.
be able to dive deep into one. Not that there aren't other good AI products out there, but yeah, we focus on ChatGPT.
Gotcha. And then, so what we're going to try to do with through this call today is really kind of demystify kind of prompting and what really kind of define what is prompting. It's a little more than just saying, "Hey, Chat GPT, what's the weather?" Right? It's and try to give people some tools to fully leverage the the tool via prompting. And
Mhm.
so again, thank you for being here. Um, a month has gone by since our last conversation. And what, and this is a trick question maybe, what's happened with AI in that last month? Anything that
Oh.
you've come across that is worth sharing to get us started?
Yeah, well, one of the things is that it has improved its ability to create pictures for you and
Yeah,
pictures with properly spelled words in them. So not
right.
100% properly spelled, but pretty close. I've been
Yeah.
really amazed with that. There are a couple more reasoning models that have been released, and of course, we're all looking forward to ChatGPT 5. But apparently that's been put on hold for a little while.
Okay.
And in the meantime, we're getting these extra reasoning models. However, those reasoning models can't look at the internet the way 4.0 does. And there are some limitations on how many questions you can put in. So I have a tendency to stick with 4.0 unless there's something really specific I want to do in one of those other reasoning models. So,
Okay. And
um,
then kind of let it get, let other people deal with it on the front end and
right.
then
Yeah.
come in and start working in it after it started. I don't know if perfecting is the right word, but after it's gotten more use, I guess. Um, so we
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
funny enough, last night we went to see my wife and my son and I went to see the new Mission Impossible.
Uh-huh.
Have you watched that series, like, you know, with the Tom Cruise series of them?
Oh,
So
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
The regular movies. I haven't seen this latest one, but
yeah. So,
uh,
and I had totally forgotten what the previous one was about. And it's basically about, you know, they don't call it AI, but it's about, computers taking over the world.
mhm.
And so it kind of ties in with what we're doing here. But so the art of the prompt, what is a prompt when we're talking about
Yeah.
ChatGPT?
Well, basically, it's just like giving directions to a pretty smart assistant. So you'd say, "Hey, Janie, come here. I'd like you to do this thing for me." And the prompt is about being clear and direct in what you're asking for and being a little creative in what you're asking for, kind of trying to think ahead. So that's pretty much what a prompt is. It's just some directions to ChatGPT to give you what you're looking for. Now there are a lot of nuances in there, but that's the
Okay. Well,
basic thing that you're doing with a prompt.
all right. Well, what are those nuances, or what do you find, what do you see as you're, dealing and working with the prompts? What are those nuances, or if you have any specific that you can share?
Sure. Well, a lot of it is being pretty specific. Okay, so you could just say, "Oh, well, write a blog post." Well, what are you going to get?
Yeah.
Because you've been so vague, you're not going to get anything of great value. But if you say something like, "I'd like a 500-word blog post for service businesses about why job costing matters." So you've given it 3 or 4 instructions in there, like what's the length? What type of output do you want? You want a blog? You want something for service businesses? That would be your audience, and a topic about job costing. So, and then you could add, and I'd like it to be in a friendly tone. So, of course, you could say, I want it to be in a professional tone. I want it to be in a condescending tone, which you wouldn't, of
Yeah.
course. I want
Right.
it to be uh, in a particular tone or voice. And so that's one type of prompt that you could get. Another thing that you can do is that you can tell it what role you want it to play. Okay, so you could say, you're a speaking coach who's going to help me prepare an exciting session and outline about why it's important for construction companies to use purchase orders. Okay, now, you go,
Yeah.
well, that's kind of as an accountant, we know why they should be using purchase orders, and it would be very easy to have something kind of dry and so on. But if we ask ChatGPT to help us, maybe they can give us some exciting things or a little
Hmm.
story or two to go along with that. And you could also ask it to write in a way that's like similar to a magazine that you like. Let's say you periodically glance at Entrepreneur magazine and you go, yeah, they've got a pretty good writing style in there. So write it in the style of Entrepreneur magazine.
Hmm.
So
Do you find if you in that prompting, if you're asking it for, let's say, like you said, you're a coach helping me write this 500 word, can you get requests like specific examples of or a source documentation? Find 3 sources that show why this is the best way to do something.
sure, because it has access, 4.0 has access to the internet. And so you can go ahead and ask it to look for sources. One of the things you likely want to do is say, I want to look for a current source.
Mm,
There was one point where I asked to go along with a short piece that I was submitting through another group. Um, about how to use AI for construction in 2025. And so I said, oh, well, it'd be really nice if I cited something, make it look a little more official. And
Right.
so ChatGPT came up with something for me from 2017, and I went, well, that's not
Right.
very good. I don't want to use that. So I said, I need something current, and I need something from mid 2024 or later. This was at the end of 2024, and so it came up with something that was much more current, and it made the citation seem a little more friendly to the readers.
Right.
So
Is
yeah.
there, I know when it first kind of hit the streets, if you will, the there was a lot of messaging around it saying, hey, this is, we can't go back. Our data is only up till like a year and a half ago. I can't remember
hmm
exactly what the time frame was. Is that still the case?
Um, no,
Okay.
if you're using 4.0, it's pretty current. You can get
Okay.
things right up to, people can look up ball game scores and so on from. I don't do that, but
Yeah.
I've heard people talk about that. So 4.0 is current. There are certain other versions, and there are a variety of them out there that you can choose from. And some of those reasoning models don't have access to the internet at all. They're designed to do deep thinking, do additional calculations and math and that type of thing. So they don't go looking for things on the internet. And then I would imagine if you look back at maybe some of the older ones, there might be a cutoff date, but 4.0 is current. So,
Okay. Yeah, it's funny about math. This guy, I'm still involved in one of our local Boy Scout troops, and
mhm,
one of the other guys that I worked with in that group, his son was having, he's a really good student, but he was having some difficulty in, I don't know if it's trigonometry or one of his calculus maybe. And
mhm,
and his understanding was that it supposedly is not very good at math. And they started using it and the answers were coming back correct. And this is like senior high, probably AP math.
mhm,
And he said it actually was getting it right. And this was, earlier this year. So I don't know if it's improved, dramatically in a short time frame.
mhm,
But he said basically his son just basically started using that as his training guide and really just stopped doing the classroom homework. Not saying that all students should do that by any means, but do what your teacher says. So
mhm.
prompting help me stay on task here and on point. So good prompt versus a not so good prompt. What are some of the key things? Earlier you mentioned be specific. Anything else that's key?
Right. Well, um, again, being vague. If you think about an assistant standing next to you and you give them some vague direction, you may have no idea what you're going to get.
Yep.
Um, if you just tell them to go to the store and bring something back from the store, you may get a Snickers bar or you may get a gallon of milk. You have to be pretty specific. And so, um, for an example, maybe you would want to say, list 5 blog titles about how construction companies can use AI. Okay. Or you might say, I've got something written down here like list 5 intriguing titles. So I like to give it some descriptive words like
Yeah.
intriguing titles that are no longer than 10 words for a webinar on the following topic: how nonprofit board members can understand and use financial statements to make strategic decisions. Okay, so maybe you got to do a little talk and you need to have some sort of an intriguing title. You need a
Yeah.
quote unquote hook to
Yep.
bring people in. And then, of course, you would likely ask AI to help you put that presentation together so that you do have some interesting things to keep people involved throughout the presentation.
Do you find that when you are engaging that sometimes it'll churn something out and you read it and you're like, wow, that doesn't sound like me at all?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I've learned a long time ago to ask it to write in my tone of voice.
Okay.
Okay, so you could just say, "Oh, well, I want it to write it out in in a friendly, professional way."
Yeah.
On the other hand, I learned a trick recently from somebody that I follow in the AI world um, to just ask ChatGPT to what you do is you copy and paste um, maybe a blog article or two, a few emails, a couple of other things that you've written, and put that in and say, ChatGPT, can you analyze my writing style? And
Mm.
you could even say, I want 8 different elements. And I chose 8, could be 9, could be 5, whatever. But what are
Right.
the basic elements of my writing style,
Okay.
of my voice? And then when it tells you, it's always going to be flattering. They don't ever say, hey, go back to kindergarten or
Right.
something.
You're a
Um,
bore, right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Um, So it's going to give you your writing style, assuming that you like the way that you write. And a lot of people, if they've done a reasonable amount of writing over the years, have come up with, they have a tendency to write the way they speak and
Right.
then clean it up and work on. And so many of us for many years, I mean, we put our heart and soul into the things that we write, and we've developed a style, even if we don't know how to name it. It's
Yeah.
just us in our writing. And so asking ChatGPT to define that for us, and then you can use it again, save it in a text file so that you can put it in again, or you can ask ChatGPT to put your writing style into your memories. Okay. And if you're going straight through like 4.0, you can say, use the writing style I have in my memories. And that
Mm.
way it will help create content that is going to be very much in your own voice.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. That I learned something. So is the memory aspect, is that available for free and paid?
Well, I don't work in the free, but I'm pretty
Okay.
sure that it's there.
Yeah.
They have set it up now so that it retains all memories for you. You can actually tell it to forget certain memories. It doesn't really ever forget it, but it will
Right.
wipe it out of what you can see.
Okay.
So that, and you might want to go out and look at your settings around those memories. But right now, it's retaining everything that you've
That's
that you've
interesting.
done in ChatGPT.
Interesting.
And the other thing you can do is, let's say maybe you have your own writing style, but after you see the results, you might go, maybe we could add a little humor in there, you know.
Okay.
And so then you can ask it to rewrite with a smidge of humor, uh, or however you want to describe it, and
Yeah.
it will change the tone a little bit. So you can think about your audience, and that's the other thing is say, oh gosh, I'm going to be presenting this to a group of accountants, or I'm going to be presenting this to a group of moms, or I'm going to, thinking about your audience, you can ask it to keep that in mind, as well as you can set up what kind of reading level do you want your words to be put out there in. So, usually 8th to 10th grade, and it's not insulting to your audience. It's more about people as people consume, are they going
Yeah.
to be able to consume something that's really deep and complicated, or are you trying to just communicate something that is easy for people to read? So you can talk
Right.
about reading level too.
Hmm. That's very interesting. In when we were talking before we started recording, we said, let's not do a walkthrough. But you know what? Now that as we talk, let's do a walkthrough. I'm going to pause the recording and just let you um, do a screen share. So let me pause here. Okay, so sorry about that little pause there, but when Diane and I had spoke earlier, we thought, well, I don't know, maybe it's not worth showing the prompts. But as we talked further and I started thinking about how I have used it, I think the prompts I think it can be beneficial, especially for someone who hasn't spent a lot of time in it, or someone who's thinking, okay, do I really, really need this tool? The more time you spend in it, the more you realize how much you do need it, because it is, as you put it, it's a great personal assistant and can do pretty much what you ask it to do. And as we'll see through this process, it's even better than just what you ask it, because it also asks you back, oh, would you like for me to do X? Y, or Z. So I'm going to go probably somewhat quiet here, just as you kind of go through prompting and showing us some good prompts and um, how we get from point A to point Z using this tool.
Well, and I haven't tested this prompt out, so we'll find out. So this one says you're a speaking coach, so you're telling it, what role you want it to play. Who's going to help me prepare an exciting outline and presentation about why it's important for construction companies to use purchase orders. Okay, and I'll just hit go. And I have mine set up so it always tells me how much time it thinks it saved me.
Hmm,
And to put a date on it because
okay.
you can get a lot of these out here.
And that's
Okay.
in, where's that? Is that in settings that you do that?
I did that. I gave it in memories. I told it that's
Memories.
what I
Okay.
wanted. Okay.
Gotcha.
Put it kind of near the top. And so
Hmm.
now it's putting that answer at the top and not at the bottom. But I'm going, that's okay, that's fine. So if you think about how much time it would take to go ahead and put together an outline and a presentation, I don't know about you, but man, that was always, just time
Sure.
consuming. Okay, so
Yep.
here it's telling me it's saved me 2 to 3 hours of research, structure design, persuasive framing. Okay, and then it tells me it kind of like when you're talking to somebody, then they'll repeat back to you, oh, this is what you want, right? And so it's
Yep.
telling me, you're about to give a talk that could shift how construction companies manage one of their most overlooked profit drains, uncontrolled spending. Let's build a dynamic, practical, and engaging presentation outline that's easy to deliver and leaves your audience eager to implement purchase orders the moment they return to the office. So it's promising. It's got a big promise for me here.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and then here's talk title ideas. So it's given me title ideas, control the chaos, why construction companies need purchase orders, stop the bleeding, how POs protect your profits. That's got a lot of P's in there. Okay.
Right.
Uh, the job's not done until the paperwork's in, making POs work for you. So, I'd probably pick one of these uh, just because of the P's all sliding in there together. I'd
Yeah.
probably I'd probably do that one.
We'll go with the alliteration. So on that, so
Yep.
you say, okay, I'm probably going to go with number two. Is that something you would add into the prompt now, or after you kind of go through and see
Yeah, that might be
what's
after
been
I
presented?
after I go through and I might ask
Okay.
it for a subtitle and
Yeah.
and so on. But
Okay.
here's it's giving me some ideas. Okay. And then here's it's figuring I want to have 50 to 60 minutes, which is, kind of normal. I didn't tell it 50 to 60 minutes, but I can always correct things as we go along
Right.
too. And then it's giving me this outline. See, it's numbering things. It's saying opening. Let's talk about the elephant on the job site. Well, that's kind of cute. Okay.
Right.
Having an elephant on the job site. Okay. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes. And this is interesting because I gave a talk to the Home Builders Association and I asked it to help me come up with the outline and I had this much time and please indicate the amount of time for each segment. So I guess it's remembering that I had asked for something in that
Okay.
format.
I was going to
Uh,
ask you that if this was in a memory that you set, or if it just memorized it on its own and
I,
is
I
taking
think
that
it just
style.
I think it just remembers it.
Yep.
So this is pretty helpful, because when you're putting a presentation together, how long does it take to
Hmm.
figure out, oh, I'm going to spend about this time here and about this much time there, and that can be time consuming too. So,
Sure.
um, yeah, and then it's giving me a story. Project manager approves an over the phone order. Materials arrive. Invoice is 4,300 more than expected. It's giving me ideas for visuals, okay, with a site captioned, who ordered this? Okay, transition. That's why we're talking about purchase orders. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so it's just as we look through this is wow, it's done so much work. It's giving me myth busting here, okay, and
Yeah.
why people are not into purchase orders, okay, and it's giving me ideas for visuals And of course, now we can do visuals inside ChatGPT that work really well. Okay. Um, the 5 big benefits. That's 15 minutes, and it's given us all of
Mm-hmm.
the different benefits. How to implement purchase orders without creating a bureaucracy. Action steps and wrap up, 10 minutes. And then optional add-ons. It's offering to do some extra things for me. A handout, a poll or show of hands, worksheet, where you leaking money without knowing it, QR code, which leads you to a blog or resources download, case study slide, before and after, PO usage impact, and an optional call to action if I wanted them to get a copy of things that they could come see me or use the QR code.
Right.
And now, would you like me to help build out speaker notes, PowerPoint slides, or a handout template for this? Okay, so again, I could just it's being very helpful. It's offering to
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of things, and that's from a pretty simple prompt.
Right.
You know, I
Yeah, that
mean,
was
I
not a very involved prompt, and it gave you, I mean, $5,000 presentation, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So can you
Now, if I
show
could
if you,
just get somebody to pay me $5,000
there
to
you
give
go,
that
right?
presentation, there
Right.
we'd be all
Exactly.
set.
So, can you just show the results of what it does if you say yes, make a PowerPoint slide?
Well, I've not always had a great luck with the PowerPoint
No.
slides, but the handout templates are pretty
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
For a while, I had trouble with it would say, "Oh, do you want a Word document?" And what I would get would not be worthwhile. So you kind of have to
Mm,
experiment. But I can
okay.
say, um, well, let's see what happens. This is real life, right?
Yeah.
Um, let's do PowerPoint.
Yeah. Last time I did it, it gave me the slides. I mean, it broke it down into, all those individual slides, and then it said, "Oh, would you like images to go with it?" And then I think I shared, I ran out of, I was in the free version, ran out of prompts. I had to wait till 6 the next day, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done.
Well, I could pick up that visual that they said and ask it to do
Mm-hmm.
that. This is going into what is called Canvas.
Okay.
And let's see. I think I think it's just giving me the bullet points.
Oh, how about that? Interesting.
Yeah, I really never I like to do I've got a template for my PowerPoint stuff and I usually pick up the bullets that I want.
Mm-hmm.
Let me close that. It says your PowerPoint slide content has been created under the title. It's 18 slides. I'm Yeah, I think this would just be here's the construction of
Yeah.
your PowerPoint slides. So
Yeah.
that didn't really do great, but let's go back up and try a visual. I think right at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning it suggested a photo material stacked on a job site captioned who ordered this. Okay. Uh, it's just fun to go play with some of this stuff.
It really is because, like most software, right? Until you start using it, you really aren't going to ever get to the power of it, the real power of it. And do you find, I see you started with please. Do you find in the prompting that being courteous is beneficial or is it not?
I've read some articles that talk about it, and they say that they can't really tell a difference. It's
Okay.
just for me, it's the way I speak, the way I
Yeah.
write, and it would be more work to not say please.
Okay.
It just would feel kind of rude to me.
Yeah.
So I use please and thank you a lot, when it gives
Yes.
me something I like. And it's just, you know, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're seeing it starting to create its picture.
Yes, I think I shared on our last discussion with HubSpot, which is what we use. their image creation has gotten much better. I haven't
Mhm.
personally created anything in it like in the past couple of weeks, but even a couple of weeks ago, what I got then versus 2 months prior, a world of difference.
Mhm. Yeah, and yeah, I could have told it to use certain colors, that if I wanted it to be lots of blues and greens or something.
Hmm.
And it's starting to reveal itself up here at the top. But I didn't really give it any further direction other than it
Yeah,
suggested visual. So I can tell it's going to be a stack of bricks here
right.
and a bunch of other stuff. It just says, who ordered this?
Yeah,
You know, and why is it on this job site?
right.
Whatever.
Yeah,
So I
well,
mean that's pretty darn good.
it's very good. Yep. And the spelling's
So
correct, right? Who ordered
yeah,
this? Yes, and the
yeah.
spelling's correct.
Exactly. And you can get much more complex. I since I've been doing workshops, some AI workshops. And so I usually prepare the prompt ahead of time with the idea that, people copy and paste the prompt in and then just follow the things as they're laid out. So I usually test it several times. So you can make them quite a bit longer.
Hmm.
I could copy and paste one in just so you could see it. We won't spend a lot of time, but just to show you that you
Yeah.
can put a much longer prompt in. This I'm just copying out of a text file.
Is there a limit or a cap on what you can put in the prompt?
Um, if you're creating a custom GPT, which is up in this area, where you can create your own GPTs and have them run in a similar fashion each time.
Okay.
I think it's about 8,000 characters.
So,
I'm not sure about down here exactly because I've never hit a limit. But this is for a workshop, quarterly business planning with AI,
okay.
and here's the goal. Okay, and I use the 12-week year to pick up some of those objectives that they talked about because this was quarterly business planning.
Okay.
And, we ask people about their unique business setting. So, what's your role in the company? What kind of company is it? How many employees are in your company? Is there anything else that might be helpful to know? And um, so look at the list below and indicate your top 3 to 5 areas that could create the biggest impact for your business in the upcoming quarter. So we're giving people some choices. And so as they go through the prompt, they'll select the things that they like. Um, and then it tells it, you know, ChatGPT is going to walk through a 500-word summary of the 12-week
Hmm.
year using a clear metaphor to simplify the process and help you see your business in a fresh light. Um, and then here's the next step is to define the high impact quarterly goals. So, people are selecting things as they go through this, and it's going to come up with weekly steps with tactical actions, time blocks for strategic buffer and renewal time, scorekeeping metrics to track your execution, weekly accountability meeting tips. So it's extracting some really good things out
Right.
of the book, and then it helps you. And we just did this internally. I did it for the workshop, and then we took some of those results and had a team meeting today and found out what everybody came up with, and to see how those different goals that people had integrated, and then how to get them, get us all on the same page. So we had one meeting where we discussed those things, and then we're going to have another meeting to get all of the pieces and parts integrated.
Okay.
But I developed this in order to run the workshop, and so we gave this prompt to people and had them copy and paste it in, and for their third quarter.
And then when they, is the output up to them, whether they get it as a Word document, a PowerPoint presentation, or,
Sure.
well, we'll just
Yeah.
say those two. So you
Yeah.
say, here's the prompt, use it how you will.
Right. And then in the workshop we kind of share the results, what we thought of the results that we got, and then people start, can start asking it additional questions and so on. But I found if we go back to the other one that we just did, the
Hmm.
copy and paste into Word is just pretty perfect.
Yeah.
If you want to just copy and paste it instead of having ChatGPT create the document for you, I lean towards just copying and pasting. So,
Okay. Okay. I want to be respectful of your time. There's a couple other things I did want to touch on real quick, and
sure.
that was in the prompt, the first prompt that you did, bullet points and numbered list. Have you found those useful in kind of helping to clarify what you get back, or
hmm
how do you use those?
Well, let's go back. Let's go back to this one. It kind of did it. I didn't ask it
Yeah.
to do that, but you'll see that it's numbering things for
Mm-hmm.
me. It's putting in bullets and numbers underneath the bullets. Um, and when I copy and paste that into Word, these bullets and so on aren't innate in Word. Okay, so if you want to go back out and use the word numbering, you kind of have to take some of these out. But I find it's just very helpful as I am looking through this. Um, so yeah, I guess it's learned, maybe it's just learned from me that I like
Yeah.
things in order and um but yeah, see it's like this is bolded and if
Mm-hmm.
I were to put this into a Word document, it may pull it in as a header or an H2. I'd have to go check that out too.
Right. I gotcha. Okay.
But yeah.
And then the last one I want to close on, and this is one of the questions we wanted to make sure we touched on, and that is around client communications and
Right.
how and where should somebody begin. And again, our audience are like yourself, core, accounting professionals.
Mhm.
Where do you begin with something like that? Because I know you can use it for that, but how do I start?
Well, I think well, the first time that you run into a difficult client communication, that's a really good time to start. Okay,
Mm,
so we all have had those difficult client communications of where we have to establish boundaries with a client.
yeah,
We do not take phone calls after 6 p.m. or or um, gosh, we've really enjoyed. Well, maybe we didn't really enjoy working with you. Um, we've appreciated having you as a client. However, we feel that our goals are not compatible,
yeah.
no longer compatible, and we would like to refer you to another firm or whatever. I mean, there are just awkward things that you have to deal with when you're talking with clients.
Hmm.
Maybe having it look through your engagement letter to make it a little more user friendly. Still make sure it's legally uh, set up in the proper way. But
Right.
there are a lot of ways that we can use ChatGPT to create friendlier communications. Another thing to do is if you um, understand what a client does or has, you can have it look at the client's website to help you get a deeper understanding of what the client is all about so that
Mm,
maybe it's a potential client so that you can walk into a first meeting and sound knowledgeable about what they do because ChatGPT has gone out and looked at different parts of their website and said, oh, this is what they do and here are some things that they could do in the future to become more profitable or it's just so many different ways that you can use it in your client communications.
and is that something that you would just do from a prompt here? You would just start a new prompt and say, "Hey, go check out, this website, give it the URL,
Yeah, I did that.
and
I did that a while
summarize it for
back,
them."
and we
Okay.
looked at a client website, and it was in an industry that we hadn't really worked in before, and they used a lot of technical terms throughout.
Okay.
And we just said, please go out and take a look at this and tell us in layman's terms exactly what these people do and what's the nature of it, so that when we talk to them, I mean, there's nothing so complicated in the world that if it's not laid out in a logical fashion that you can't understand it. But websites are not always laid out in a logical fashion. And
Yeah.
lots of times a client can even tell you, they're so deep into what they do, it's difficult for them to convey it. So in this case, we just asked ChatGPT to go take a look, and it was very helpful. So,
Gotcha. Yeah. And I think just in closing, I think a little demonstration there is it's, getting comfortable using it. Just get in there, use it, start asking questions and letting it prompt you as it did here in your demo on what else it can do for you. And you
right.
could even ask that, right? Hey, as it puts together this presentation, what else could you do with this? Well, it'll
Yeah.
give you ideas. Um, and I think of,
repurposing
right?
repurposing in different ways. Like lots of times it'll give you something, it'll say, oh, now do you want me to write a Facebook post, do you want me to write a LinkedIn post for you to do this? And it'll be very helpful, and if it isn't, then just ask it to be.
Yeah.
You
Do it again,
and
right?
help use it for what it refers to as SOPs. I don't normally use that term, but standard operating procedures,
Yeah.
help me write up a procedure for this, or help me write up 3 welcoming emails for new clients for
Yeah.
onboarding. So anything anything that you look at and go, oh man, that's going to take me an hour or 2 hours, or how am I even going to start this? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Just ask ChatGPT.
There we go. And you recommend getting the paid version versus the free. It's only $20, right?
Yeah, $20 a month, best money. People who get into the paid version, they just don't leave. They
Hmm.
just once they see what all they can do, they're converted. And we just we just switched over to the team version for all 4 of us. And I did, disappointingly, I found out after the fact that in the team version you can't get the deep search feature, only if you're an independent one. So I'm sure
Oh,
we'll get it sooner or later, but
right. That's
before
kind
you
of
go to
weird.
the team version, think about it. I went, darn.
That's That's very strange. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
So again, this is part two of a six-part series that we're doing. I think our next one, actually, I was looking forward on the calendar. I think our next one is actually maybe we might record the next one next week or the week after that. It's
yeah,
coming up because we got a little
soon.
off past couple of weeks. But Diane, thank you so much. Oh, I do want to close with you mentioned a workshop that you were doing.
Mhm.
Is this what you do for a living now?
No, really, I started doing these, and we're only going to do them in this fashion through the middle of July.
Okay.
But every other week on Tuesday and Friday, I run a workshop. And the whole idea is just to get people used to putting their fingers on the keyboard and using ChatGPT. I mean, there are people that are actually afraid of it. I don't
Yeah.
know if they think the keyboard is going to electrocute them or something, but but nevertheless, a lot of it is just getting people to try it and then go back and try something else and then try something else. And
Yeah.
so that's what I've been doing now for several months. I think we're probably 16 weeks into it, doing something every other week.
Okay.
So no, it's not. We're we're going to be using ChatGPT more in finding ways to help clients become more profitable. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a big focus for where we're going. And I'm also a member of a consulting group that does have some really great recorded training and so on. And so we are a reseller for that company. And so
Gotcha.
people can come through us to get that training. But they've done such a great job. I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. Um,
Sure.
so, yeah, but
And
we're
then and
incorporating it into our day-to-day lives. So
gotcha. And if somebody does want to reach out to you about that, how do they find you?
go to buildyournumbers.com, and you'll find phone numbers and links to the AI uh, training replays, um, etc. So you won't have any
Gotcha.
trouble getting in touch with us if you go to buildyournumbers.com.
Perfect. All right. Well, Diane, thank you so much. Certainly appreciate your time again and look forward to our next conversation. Thanks a lot.
Okay, terrific. Thanks, Gary. See
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Bye-bye.